You can see in front of you the community agreement. The community agreement is a piece that has been put together based on everything we have done thus far. And I want to tell you a little bit about where we have been. In 2009, a committee was formed that took on visioning and branding for the community. They covered every aspect of the community except for the public education. Fast forward to 2011. The same committee gets together to discuss public education. There's been so much turnover with administrators, teachers, non-acceptance of leadership, and frankly, a confidence gap that's built up between the public and the school system. Our public school system is left alone, treated as if it's on an island with the public expecting so much, but not really sure how or why they would want to become involved. The committee isn't exactly sure what to do until a group of us go to Mobile, Alabama and spend 3 days with Carolyn Akers, the CEO of the Mobile Area Education Foundation. We are astounded by the similarities of our community as it relates to our public school system. We learn everything we can about the Yes We Can program, which has been in place for 13 years, and we come back to Oshkosh knowing what we have to do. And so it begins. This is where you all get involved. In January, we begin 50 community listening sessions where 600 people participate. With the help of community facilitators, UWO students that act as scribes, we learn more about community members' thoughts, opinions about our community, and what we want our school system to represent today and in the future. These sessions continue through February. In March, we take the top 5 community priorities, post them on the Northwestern website to be ranked by the public. 1,075 of you participate. Later that month, an Oshkosh O4E committee, along with school board members and administrators, interview strategic planning firms to begin the implementation process. In April, Big River LLC, a strategic planning firm, is chosen because of their willingness and ability to work with the data we have already collected and not trying to push their own agenda on us. We knew what we wanted, we just had to put it in a form that could be used. Later that month, another Oshkosh for Education Committee, school board members and administration went through 2 days of strategic planning exercises. We relooked at the mission, the vision of the school system, which we accepted as it was written. We developed benchmarks, timelines, and deadlines for the priorities and their implementation. On May 8th, the strategic plan format was presented to the Oshkosh Area School District School Board. We got the green light to continue to move forward with designing the action steps and goals. That step, with the help of the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation, putting together this piece, has turned into the community agreement piece of the journey. Where we are going. That is where we are going and why we are here today. As you can see, we have sheets for you to sign here and in the hallway. And these sheets will be a representation of if you agree with what we are trying to do and the way we are going forward. We will be taking these signatures to the Oshkosh Area School District board agenda for this evening to show support. We were going to ask them to approve the strategic plan in concept. The approval will give the okay to the school administration to go ahead, move forward, and implement about what you are going to learn about right now. Stan and I are going to talk about the 5 priorities and how they will be implemented. Priority number 1. Support and recognize the value of our quality teachers by all community members. Create an environment in which teachers receive the support they need, programming, budgetary support staff, to offer appropriate educational experiences.
Within that, and good morning everyone, I'm pleased to be here to join in this wonderful occasion. I just need to share quickly that 1 year ago this week I was interviewed by the school board for the first time at a conference room at Aurora Hospital, and that evening the board shared what was being discussed by the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation about the possibility of a survey. that lit the fire for me of my willingness to take a look at Oshkosh and determine that that partnership was a valuable tool, especially for a district that Beth described so well as being kind of left away from its community. And that's the exciting part of all of this, that in a 12-month period, this has matured into a level of engagement that is truly remarkable. I'm pleased to be here in the fact that this is 10 months, 22 days on the job, and also the fact that I can walk into this room and I have had the occasion to work with, communicate with, or get to know 80% of the individuals in this room. That's, to me, a very positive beginning to this process. First of all, we need to support and look at the recognition of teachers. We need to deal a little bit with history. The fact that in February of 2011, a rather momentous issue occurred in the state of Wisconsin, Act 10. Act 10 changed the whole relationship between teachers and their employers, between the community and the perception of educators in Wisconsin. The reality is that educators continue to be performing well, continuing to do well, but without mincing words, I need to say that a lot of our teachers, in spite of what continued high productivity, they are what I would describe walking wounded. I've described that to numerous different settings because of the result of the change. But let me give you an example of their continued productivity. In 2011, our graduation rate was 90.5% of students. That's compared with the state average of 87.5% for the state of Wisconsin. That number increased in 2012 to 92.9%. There has not been a decrease in productivity, and our ACT scores are also reflective of that continued growth. But we cannot wait and sit back and expect that that will continue. My administrative team get tired of hearing it, and I will continue to repeat it, that with our K-4 through 12th grade program, we have a 13 or 14-year manufacturing process of educated students to walk across the stage 2 weeks from now. If we do not make sure that at every stage, at every grade level, we have the best, most highly qualified, motivated teachers serving every one of our children, we will not be able to retain that high degree of performance. How are we going to respond to that? We need to deal with recognition, we need to deal with compensation, we need to deal with alignment and efficiencies, and we need to deal with a good evaluation program. How will we accomplish that? One of the easiest ways is to formalize a stronger recognition program beginning September 2013. Because Act 10 effectively eliminated the historical traditional lane and steps and the traditional means of collectively bargaining and compensating teachers, we need to invent, create, and work to find a fair, appropriate, affordable compensation plan by the fall of 2014. We need to increase stability, and we'll need to do that as evidenced by survey data and looking at adopting effective education evaluation system. Remember, the evaluation system and the performance system really needs to be separated out from the issue of merit and the like. Those are different performances. We have to get to adequacy in compensation before we start talking about outstanding performance. Meeting basic standards is critical. Next.
Priority 2, working together to achieve a common goal. Move beyond the silos of differing agendas and sides to make decisions and move forward.
When I came to the district last July 1 and started, I discovered what I had learned from the consultants, what I had learned from the school board, what I had learned from the different teams that were part of my interview process, that in reality the district had kind of isolated itself over the last 10 years away from the community. And I have always worked in school communities with multiple cities or with multiple combinations that the school community and the school district needed to be effectively tied together hand in hand with the success, the economic development, the growth, the relationship of the community it serves. School districts may not, shall not, and will not be a party to being separate entities within an institution of a city. And in this community, we're fortunate enough, in addition, we have other institutions that we need to relate to and to be a party to. And in addition to the city, we have 2 institutions of higher education. We have a private and parochial system we need to relate to. We have a system of education that is comprehensive, and our relationships with them are critical. How do we start that process? One of the things we reinstituted, and I learned from some of our historians in the past, that there had been PTO from the citywide. We have pulled together a group of representatives from all leadership and all the PTOs, PTAs in the district, and they are meeting usually the 4th Thursday of every month for an hour and a half, and already we were hoping to share more information with them, and they're saying, give us more time to work together, don't talk to us so much. So that's a great thing, and we're pleased to step back and include that. We need to deal with a database quarterly feedback to the Board of Education that will also be tied in with the Education Commission for the district. We need to engage in the community agreement that we commit to demonstrating clearly to our community on a regular basis, on a daily basis, frankly, in our schools, and we'll talk a little bit about the data system sharing in each school on a regular basis. And then we really have also worked to redesign the Board of Education work sessions so that we're more friendly to the public. In fact, what we do now is on a regular monthly basis, we operate on the basis of having a whole series of workshops and listening sessions on one board meeting a month, and then we have a second board meeting a month that's predominantly action items. It allows for the public to kind of plan, for the board to have time to contemplate their actions and their votes between meetings in order to make sure that they make the best decisions. The citywide PTO will be doing regular reports to the Board of Education as to what their concerns are, gives another vehicle of input. The data-driven decision-making will be a dashboard visible in all of our schools. We will have, instead of bulletin boards, and thanks to technology, movable flat-screen databases in the front entry of every school to share pertinent data on how we are doing in test scores, math scores, what's the demographics of the building, what are the issues, so that anybody who walks into the building can regularly see what is the progress being made on that. In Mobile, we saw long, massive bulletin boards, which are more difficult to read, and we were feeling that being able to use electronic means, and everybody's more attracted to a screen than a flat, dull bulletin board anyway. So another means of communication is the meeting we're holding today. Wanting to, on a regular basis, come back to the total community and say, what are the progress points we're making right now? What are the pieces that we're delivering on, and how are we doing? The public that supports its public education system deserves to know on a regular, continuous basis how we're doing. The OASD strategic plan will be monitored monthly by the board. Every action item that comes to the board or workshop item will be labeled as to how it relates to which part of the strategic plan. Yeah.
And I wanted to say, you can see in with all these priorities, we have little icons. And when you see in the future something that's been accomplished for each one of these priorities, that icon will be showing. So if it's the working together, you'll see the hand holding.
And it's contained in your brochure as well. You'll find each one labeled, and without even having to use words, we'll be able to do that. So,
right. Okay, Joy. Priority number 3, communication. Communicate at all levels within the school district to parents, students, and outside stakeholders.
One of the things that we also have discovered, and I discovered that historically and from a standpoint of how does the school district relate to the community, district-wide publications or district-wide communication devices have been extremely limited. And you cannot expect the community to understand and have a relationship with the school district without having ongoing regular communication. We are working on the process to develop programming with rapid communication. Some of that will take a little longer as we're adapting the technology to do that with communication to parents and back and forth from parents, but especially to parents with electronic means to communicate changes in school schedules, to have parents have access to student grades, to student records on a daily basis, to even assist in student registration for that process. We're planning to put together 23, at least in this coming year, 23, 1 in July and 2 per month, cable access programming beyond the wonderful coverage of school board meetings, but to create a communication device that will be a forum for sharing what's happening in the school district on a monthly basis, and to get the message out about what are the priorities. And as I've said to many people, 10 or 12 minutes of talking heads is enough. The majority of the time needs to be a focus on what's happening with our schools, what's happening with our students, and nothing attracts watching more than when parents know their children are going to be on television. That's a positive connection. These bi-monthly programs will commence with 1 in July, and then beginning in August, 2 per month. The message availability and flexible to be flexible and consistent. We will continue to monitor and respond in trying to find what other means, electronic means, to communicate with our publics, and also to continue to work with Oshkosh Northwestern, with other means of communication in the community. Whatever the data tells us is the most effective way to communicate with our publics. Next.
Priority number 4, equity among schools. Create an environment at each school where students have access to the same technology, building resources, and services.
The equity among schools was an interesting one for us to deal with, in the fact that we do not have, and all of you who know our school facilities and our locations, we don't have a set of schools, we have a collection of schools. There are many different facilities with different forms of access and located in different neighborhoods. But the fundamental message we gathered from that was the equity of opportunity for every child in the school district. Equal facilities it will not become. We focused there on using what is a major change in our society and in using technology, a technology plan that will be coming on board. Equity in facilities and resources, again, making sure that we adequately study that each program and each opportunity for every school site, that children who attend school at one location or another will, in the end, when they come to middle school or come to high school, have the same base foundation that allows them to compete on an equal basis in our 2 high schools. And that's a critical piece, which then sets the stage for their success in post-high school. The issue of changing how we deliver for at-risk students and at-risk student populations, we continue to need to grow in that area. It's a major undertaking that's both mandated, important of our strategic plan, but mandated by state and federal government, that we find other ways of delivering within the classroom the needs for the needs of students that are not necessarily in and should not be in special education. The response to intervention plan is one of those devices that we assist teachers in growing in their ability to adapt and create unique learning and response opportunities for children in their classroom. The 2013-16 technology plan, 3-year plan, will be shared with stakeholders this December. The personal technology, our goal is by 2015 to be in a position to have personal technology in the hand of every child, so that the devices, that the connection will be in place. Many school districts are far ahead of us on this issue. In fact, Dr. Gunlock just mentioned yesterday that instead of having a 1-to-1 ratio, the question comes, in some cases 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, that 2 or 3 different technology devices potentially in the hands of the same child. We want to get to 1-to-1 first before we dive into that world. The increase in graduation rates. I cited the statistics earlier when we were talking about teacher performance, the fact that we're doing well. The contrast we have with the Mobile, Alabama school, the school district, is it's a county system of which they're 6 times larger than we are, about 66,000 students. Their goal is to be at 80% by 2020. Now that gives you a contrast compared to where if we were to set a goal, could we be at 95% by 2020, which would be within clearly a target goal or greater than 95%. But to be 80% by 2020 gives you a contrast between, especially the levels of poverty between our school district and that. We also need to focus in on, as we have increasing number of students, minority students, of the achievement gap. That's been a federal discussion for the last 13 years. It's an issue that is really now facing Oshkosh area schools as well. We need to be sure that we're attending to those issues. Next.
And the final priority, team with groups within the community to develop educational experience. Students need real-world skills, including soft skills, critical thinking, social skills, global awareness, independence, and workplace skills to maximize their full potential. Develop partnerships and collaborations with businesses, higher education, college, city government, schools, neighborhoods, parents, youths, and citizens to maintain and grow our quality of life, our public education system, and economic development opportunities.
Response in dealing with those issues would be, first of all, the goals would be to partner with the community to support families and students. I've had discussions with members of our city council and city leadership on the whole aspect of their hard work in dealing with housing and quality of housing. That has a direct relationship to success of students in school. That poverty and home and dealing with the issues of economic well-being. Remember, children are in school with us less than between 13 and 18% of their waking hours per year. They're out in the community the balance of time, either in their homes or in other settings within the community. That small portion of impact that the schools can have cannot be allowed to be outweighed by all the other variables that children face on a daily basis. We need to partner with the community on both academics and soft skills, being reflective constantly of the fact that what are the needed skills that are needed today to succeed in life, relationship to one another, but to succeed in work and ongoing higher education. We need to partner in economic development as we approach dealing with issues of both our facilities and our operation. We need to be attentive to the fact that what we do in schools and what we don't do in schools has an impact on the greater community, both its economic development, what the future of housing in the community will be, what the future of both retail and manufacturing businesses will be in the community, and that relationship is a crucial one for our success. We need to continue to partner and almost take down as many barriers as possible in our relationship with higher education, with technical colleges, and with our four-year universities to prepare our students for career readiness. And we need to reverse the out-of-district enrollment trend that we have. Right now, we have a net of about 100 more students who choose other options for education, and this does not include non-public issues. It's simply students enrolling in other programs. A majority of those students are enrolling in online learning, and last year we began, and we will continue to expand our own online learning system. Those systems need to be not standing alone. They need to be integrated with in-class or partial in-class and having a connection with the community. And the return is certainly a need to do that. The metrics of that will be identifying and working with the city, county, and nonprofits in community partnerships Community partnerships in place with businesses and higher education will continue to be growing stronger. One of the things that the Board of Education asked me to do was to be certainly a party to the community, and as my having an opportunity to cross paths with so many of you, I am spending a fair amount of time in building those relationships, and that's critical to be the face of the district. But I will also be asking our teachers, our administrators, our school board, all our partners in this in relating to the community. It's critical that there is a sense that this institution shall not be isolated from the greater community. Strong public education plays a major role in economic development, and we intend to demonstrate all the parts and pieces that relate to that. Successful communities have successful schools, and successful schools exist in great communities, and that is a critical piece. The number of students returning to the district in this case will be increased by 2015. We believe the measures we're undertaking that are all subservient to each of these goals will demonstrate turning that number of students leaving us around into the future. Next. The dashboard. We talked a little bit earlier about the issues of what we will be communicating in that entrance way to every school. That will include the reports that will be regularly filed with the Education Commission, but it will include enrollment and demographic data about each school, knowing who's going to school there, the on-time graduation rate, and even for elementary schools, they're a party to making a difference on on-time graduation rate, and for whichever high school they feed into, that data needs to be at that elementary school or middle school. Post-graduation plans, collecting what's been happening with our students. The state of Wisconsin does not have an organized system that I've been used to previously on collecting 5 and 10-year data out from graduation. We're going to need to create our own to track and follow our own students, since the state does not do it. Every parent in a community, higher ed institutions need to know and understand what their success rates, and I know that Fox Valley Technical College, as well as the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, does track their graduates. We'll be able to tie into that, but we will also need to tie into where our students go that are not those two institutions, and find out what is the success rate into the future. The attendance rate for schools, reading and math achievement data, those are the two major ones that are measured by the state, and there we have both internal and external comparisons, and we're really grateful that the state of Wisconsin obtained a waiver from what had been the No Child Left Behind regulations for the previous 11 years, 12 years, and the fact now that we can measure year-to-year individual student progress, not comparing last year's third grade with this year's third grade, which made no sense whatsoever. Now we can measure children directly, and then provide that data not only by classroom or by school, but also certainly provide that on an ongoing basis with parents, so parents know the progress of their child on a continuous basis. And we'll be collecting and maintaining within that large-scale assessment data, and that includes the discussion currently going on in Madison talks about the issue of potentially putting in place as a standard achievement measure for high school students is using the ACT assessment suite as a potential measure. We do well on that. We have done well on that. Expanding to a larger population of ACT students may have some impact, or a larger number of students taking the assessment, but we will continue to succeed in that, and that's an important measure for comparability, both internal and external. Next. Hurdles and challenges. This is one. Beth picked out this photograph, and I think it's so indicative of what we face. The issue is how do we accomplish these things? None of these things will occur by themselves, and under the present economic conditions and from the state of Wisconsin, we know that we need to grab hold of this ourselves. We need to work with the community on looking at, in the long run, enhancing revenue, and looking at the fact that if we are underspending compared to all of our sister districts, having lower revenues per student, we need to eventually build a case to look at how do we sell the community on making sure that these promises can be delivered on only with increased economic support. What can you expect? Yeah, I think you're taking that one.
I am. I'm just overwhelmed by everything that he's offered this morning. It's pretty impressive. You have an awesome superintendent, and this administration team has really delved into this and put together a plan that's going to serve us well into the future. What you can expect. This summer, you can expect that Oshkosh for Education will put together an education commission that will be comprised of specialists in the 5 areas of priority. You've learned a lot this morning, and we want to continue to keep it going. So we need this group to be the watchdog, we need them to be looking at the metrics, and we need them to be a support system for your school board. You have a school board that's operating very efficiently right now, and they have been incredibly supportive of this process. So any more support that we can give for them to be able to make great decisions only helps the community. One of the other things the Education Commission will be doing is being advocates for this program within the community. That's 30 more people that understand the process and are able to talk to different people in the community. They can be another set of eyes for what's happening in the district also. And as I look at all of you today, so many of you have been involved in this process from the beginning. And you've been facilitators, you've been at one of the listening sessions, and you too are wonderful advocates. And to think that we can get 100 people on a Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning tells me that this program really has some legs. You can also expect to see a great deal of excitement from Oshkosh for Education. We are going to keep this thing rolling, and most importantly, we're going to let you know what's happening along the way. We're going to take you along for this ride with us. And you can expect a commitment by the school district that the decisions they make, and the board also, will be based on the priorities. We talked about those little icons. When you see a decision that comes out of there, you should see one of the icons associated with it. You can also expect from Oshkosh for Education to be the group of people that is neutral, with no agenda. Our primary goal is to make sure that everyone plays well together, to develop partnerships, to develop relationships, and to be the support system for the school district, for the chamber, for the businesses, for the public, for those people that don't have students in the school system anymore. That's what our job is, to make sure that everyone's voice is being heard and funnels down into all of these priorities with great accomplishments. So this morning we ask for your commitment to this program. We ask you to trust us that we have a plan in place that we're going to move forward on. And if you do agree with what we've presented this morning, we ask that you do sign here in the hallways you leave. And we can take these with us to the school board this evening to ask them to incorporate this strategic plan with the goals, the metrics, the action steps into their formal plan.
I just wish to close by saying a sincere thank you to the school community that has been so welcoming to me and so engaging. But the blessing of having a consistent, strong, education-minded school board combined with the outstanding leadership that Beth Wyman has demonstrated in bringing the community foundation together with us on this effort has made all the difference in the world. It gives us a ray of sunshine, a goal, one of those focal points to look out over all the other kind of things that we're dealing with and saying we have hope for the future because we have a community that has seen the vision and the wisdom of investing in itself. And that's what we're really doing. We're investing in ourselves. And that's the critical piece of doing this. It's so exciting to have that partnership. The role of the superintendency can be extremely isolated in time. I'm blessed to be surrounded with a wonderful executive team, great building leadership, great principals, and a fantastic teaching staff that really I have learned over this past year that they're not afraid to sit down and tell you what they think. But the reality is that the issue of having that experience in understanding education as well as I do in understanding public education allows me to sort that out. But to have a guiding star, that being the leadership coming from the Education Commission and from the leadership within the Community Foundation, provides a guidance that is second to none and makes our district uniquely different. When I compare notes with colleagues around the state, they watch and listen with envy about what this community has done in supporting its schools. I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.